today's first hot dog was all beef, and I shit talk all beef, and I'm like, oh,
Why? Where did the no all beef thing come from?
the ones with pork are better.
Just tastes better. That's the only thing.
That's my thing. Pork, veal, beef, entrails. It's all hooves and shit.
Yeah.
And so like why be like, oh, that, that's it's kosher. That's why they do it.
Yeah.
But not my thing.
It's not David Noble kosher.
Yeah, it's not kosher for me. All right. So I talk too much.
Mm-hmm. Just on the last episode.
No, it's like pretty much a lot.
Yeah.
I think so to some extent, the problem for as the host is like when you hit the point that you're really passionate about, you want to hit that. You want to continue to hit it and continue. You want to get it across because that's like your agenda.
Right.
So, all right. Well, here we are, man. You want to get on the show? You got on the show.
Yeah, I finally got on. It only took me producing 20 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the 20th episode that we're recording. Probably be the next one.
I think that's a thing that
probably
you
be
have.
The next one you edit.
Yeah. This one's going up right away.
Right
No,
away.
I gotta wait until the audience gets up and all that sort of stuff. You pick on the producers a little bit because you said that about me and you said that about Russ.
What do you mean?
We're begging you to get on the show.
Yeah. Y'all want to be in front of the camera instead of behind, but
It's
you're
a producer
behind.
thing.
Yeah,
And then I think there's a spectrum of like, there's the producers who really, I think all of them want to be in front of the camera to some extent, but there's some that are like really scared of it. And then there's some that are like kind of scared of it.
Isn't everybody kind of scared? Like at a base?
Yeah.
Like it's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary to share your thoughts. It's scary that nobody's listening.
Yeah.
It's scary, all those things. Like it's just scary. I don't even like to take pictures with people.
Yeah, no, that we've learned.
Yeah, having a social media account, it's scary.
Yeah, it is. But then you see it, like you're around it enough. I think you get a little desensitized to it at a certain point. And then you also realize like the stuff that nobody's going to listen to it. Like you start to rationalize it away a little bit, I think.
I mean, you've done plenty of stupid videos, plenty of things.
Majority.
Plenty of volunteering for people, plenty of trying to get paid, different things.
Yes.
Like, what are you even doing?
I'm thinking about rebranding to a professional button pusher because I like to instigate things and that, like, also physically, that's what I do. But more than anything, like, I think the producer role, whatever the medium happens to be, is bringing together whatever the elements of production or making something is.
So dive a little deeper into what that means to you. Before producing something, I had no idea what a producer is.
Yeah.
And like your role here is different than one that I'm an executive producer on a documentary. So what does it mean to you that I'm a producer?
It means you produce something. So the first time that it came full circle was I read that book that I picked up like 10 years ago, the David Wolpert memoir, which I sent to you to read. And that was like at the genesis of television, basically. So he was at the first World's Fair where they were like commercializing television. He was a person that kind of just figured out how to produce television shows, went and set up his own distribution and everything. And depending on the time and the medium, that's going to look different depending on what you're working on. But it always involves the same element of figuring out who the people are, finding the equipment.
When you say people, who the people are,
the
what is
talent, the people that are operating the cameras, the people that are doing sound, whatever the technical aspects are of it, but then also the people that are going to be on camera actually creating the content, basically. And you got to bring together all the equipment, the set, the budget for it. The budget, I would think, is like one of the biggest parts, especially back then when things were like really intense.
Especially today.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't go away. Money. So yeah, you essentially have talent, technical, creative, and money.
Right.
What does that mean to you today? Like, how do you do that? You're telling me you're the podcast producer, so
you systematize what you can about it. So we have a space that can be rented by anyone here at Melrose. Then we have engineers that operate all of the equipment. They facilitate things with talent. They edit things for you, send you your files, post and publish in terms of the distribution aspect of it. So I think that's why that role I would consider to be more of a producer than an engineer, because it's not just on the technical side of things.
Right.
But you're essentially bringing together all of the elements and making the finished product. So without that key component, and some talent can act as that, some distributors can act as that, like somebody's got to produce and actually make it, though.
And at this level, sometimes you're directing, sometimes you're videoing, like you're engineering, you're editing, you're doing so many different hats at this level.
Right.
There's levels where all you do is produce.
Yep.
So what would you rather be doing? Producing major things, or being in the weeds, like you're able to take the dollars out?
I'm kind of at the crux of it, because you want to work on something that you actually care about, that you believe in. It's one of the things that I like about working on this show, and some others as well. And for years, that's what I did. I just worked with like a handful of people that were my clients, and I was a dedicated producer on those shows. Then I came in here and I saw the advantages of being able to find people that are either emerging, they're growing, meaning they have like a platform already, and they're trying to invest back into it with like higher production value, the equipment, space, all that sort of thing. Or it's like the top of the game. Like we have that entire spectrum coming through here. So I do like the aspect of finding something new, because in any show I'm looking at what that new concept is that other people haven't discovered yet, a new angle, because at the end of the day, you're kind of reshipping and repackaging a lot of the same ideas.
In this medium, top of the game is entirely different than top of the game in feature films.
Yeah.
You're right.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just sheer scale.
Right.
Like
scale in terms of audience. What are you talking about?
Not in terms of audience, in terms of production.
Yeah. The production scale. Absolutely.
You know, I mean, you might be talking about 1,000 people touching Twister.
Yeah.
Which caused me to have massive PTSD. Right?
Yeah.
Like you've been through a major tornado. So what do you do? Go sit in a movie. Like, and we actually ended up in like almost the front row, and we're getting hit. And I'm like sitting there twitching.
Man took the IMAX.
Freaking.
He's like, I already been through
this.
I
was like, it's like, I know what it's like.
Yeah.
Right. Like Supercell. I know what a Supercell is. So as a young person, you're going through this, you're learning these different things. Why? Who cares? Like, just why don't you just go get a fucking job?
I did get a job. I had a job for a year and a half, and basically the thing that I learned from that was that I never wanted one.
Yeah.
And I got kind of tricked into it, honestly, because it was an entrepreneurially
I got you a job.
Package thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I mean, you had a job, you get a job, like, but you don't want a job. Well, guess what? Nobody wants a job.
Right.
You're not wanting to work.
No, not at all. I love working.
So explain that mix. Like that's a contradiction. I don't want a job, but I want to work. I
didn't have much control over the type of work that I was doing in that particular job. Sure, you could go get a different job and do something. Like I could go work for like...
Why does he do this, dude? You've been his best friend.
Yeah.
You've been his best friend.
Yeah.
Like, why does he do this? No, you can't do that. You got to sit closer.
No, it can pick up my sound. Do what? You're being kind of vague right now.
Why is he doing what he's doing?
Now, being a podcast?
Right now. Why is he doing it? You've been with him for 10 years, 20 years?
This kid loves fucking podcasts, dude. This guy's been on podcasts since like...
So who cares about...
2015.
So who cares about producing? Like, you love podcasts.
Because I want to be the best at doing this. If this is what I'm doing right now, I want to be the best at doing that. But it is a step in sequence to... Eventually, I'd like to have my own show and then also still produce a handful of shows that...
Why? Why not just have your own show? Why not just produce a show? Like, why do you want these?
Because I get different things from each of them. I get something different out of each of them.
Most people view their relationship with work as getting paid.
No.
Earning money. So what do you get?
That has to be part of it, but I can wait. I can wait to get to that point.
But then what are you getting?
I enjoy the process of producing them. I can recognize that somebody as a host is really good at doing one particular thing. I really like that. I can look at that as a producer and say, I don't want anything to do with that. I would never be good at doing that. And I can have different interests like that over the course of a couple of different shows. And then I can also still go and do the show that I actually want to make that I know that I could be good at making, if that makes sense.
Barely.
Okay. What doesn't make sense about it?
What are you getting out of it? You didn't answer that. You said, I can go do these things.
Probably a network.
That's you. You're the network guy. That's you.
I don't think that's necessarily.
You're going to see the network.
I don't think.
What are you getting? You're talking about in terms of like this thing is giving you something.
I don't know if I would like classify it as a high, but it's a feeling. It's a feeling. I enjoy it a lot and seek it out.
It's an intrinsic value.
Yes, correct.
You've created this.
Right. If you're looking for like a particular asset, I could continue to list off things, but
no, I'm saying, what do you get? Like we all have to decide why we spend our time doing things, right? Like most people think work, family, like these are separate things.
No, they're not. We've talked about that a lot.
I know
not at all, yeah.
We have, but like you're making a set of decisions based upon a reward structure that is meaningful to you, not meaningful to other people.
Right.
And so what are the things you're getting as you're doing this? As a young person in it, you're not at the top of the world.
Well, one thing that I could say is I looked at it when like very early on before I really got involved in the world and said like, okay, what's a better way to learn different things from a slew of different people than to listen to them?
You're getting knowledge, you're getting experience.
But also like encompassing knowledge. Like it's not just from the business world. It's not just from the entertainment world. It's not like it's from a variety of different lifestyles and walks of life.
Knowledge is only bifurcated like that in jobs because it's an efficiency mechanism for a manufacturing process.
Sure.
The creative economy, creatorship, all these things, whatever you want to call it, is literally in the digitization of massive amounts of things, is saying that model doesn't matter, and it's actually not good to be in that line, because then the world changes and you're stuck, and that's all you have.
And that's the other thing that made it difficult about, or it kind of removed the job option of having a job. Like I didn't like thinking in that sort of siloed way.
Siloed linear processes.
Yeah.
All right. So you're getting things, you're getting reward, you're getting kind of a high, you're getting intrinsic value, you're feeling good about the work you do.
I do, yes.
Yeah. That's your reward structure with enough money to be able to pay rent, hopefully. Yep. Or we all hustle and figure that out, right? Like that's that piece. Atu throws in the network. Well, yeah, you're getting a network, but you're valuing, I guarantee you and I value network more than Chris does. There's something there. When that dopamine component, when that thing that's creating intrinsic value inside of you is your primary, you see that as one of the most valuable things in the world.
Correct.
Atu's a classic networker.
I've always said that about
right?
Atu.
I'm a classic networker.
Yeah, I've never been good at that.
I know you're not good at that because you're fucking weird. But
yeah.
But that's okay. So now you got to go out into the world and build a place for you.
Right.
Like in different podcasts, we've had this conversation that you've produced. Is like accepting that you're different than other people is like, actually, that's really the first step towards freedom.
Yep.
Then you start to bang on it. You start to hit on it. You try things. I don't like that. Was that a valuable experience to learn you didn't like that?
It was the most valuable because then I had to figure out what I did like and how to survive doing that. And that was like a multi-year process for me because I think I did it like the dumbest possible way that you could do it.
I disagree with that, but I disagree with the judgment, but like a multi-year process sounds right. I was like 35, 36 before I had any remote idea what I wanted to do or get that intrinsic value
right.
from what I was doing. Right. So like you're way ahead on that if you judge it on that time scale, right? So like how did that work for you? Like I don't care about the job. I don't care about getting fired. I care about, and I think our audience would care maybe from that, what that process was like for you. Once you realized, all right, I don't want to do this. I'm changing. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this. What's that feel like? Like, what do you go through? How do you get up every day? How do you keep pushing to the next thing?
It was very painful because I didn't like do the let's put together different jobs and stuff. When I left my full-time job, I met my first podcasting client on the way out of that. And I said to myself, like, I'm going to sit in this and I'm only going to take work that revolves around this thing, which, what does that look like? I had zero skill set whatsoever, no like technical training, no really idea other than just having some form of taste from consuming it for so many years and like making judgments in my own head about like this should be done like that and such and such. So when you try to monetize something like that, you're just going to keep running your head into the wall in the most like painful way possible, where you make zero money for a very long. I don't even know how really I survived off of that level of money, but there's something in that process where, to that stability conversation that you were just having in the last podcast, that's not, I remember that being my biggest fear and biggest source of anxiety. And I look at that now and like I laugh, because once you've been through it, you have the reference point of I've done it before. I'll figure out how to do it again. Even if I have to go into an entirely different field, even if I wake up tomorrow and I don't get that same intrinsic value out of all of this and it has to be an entirely new, different thing, like there's a process and a belief system that you can figure it out.
I have a student I'm sort of mentoring on the side, and they're like, well, I'm afraid to get it, then lose it. They're afraid to achieve a level of success because they may lose it. Well, and you just tipped off on that. Like, once you've survived it,
yeah,
it's fucking stupid to be afraid of it, because like it's hard, it hurts. Yeah. It's not fun telling people, what are you doing? Oh, you got to come up with stuff. Like, but once you get to the other side, you know you can.
Correct.
And that changes the game.
However, like when you talk about that whole house of cards, like you wake up and you're like, all this shit is going to fall apart. Everybody's going to realize that I'm a fucking idiot. Like I definitely have that. And it's almost like a cognitive dissonance of like, I know right now, no matter, like I lose my job here, every client that I have or could have or has ever heard of me says like, fuck you, we're never going to use this guy. Like I believe in my ability to rebuild things. That being said,
where did that come from?
Where did it come from? From being able to build it from nothing.
From screwing up.
From actually having done it, yeah. But what I'm saying is there's also like a component that I wasn't ready for, where I have that belief. I know that to be true because I've seen it happen before. Also, I'm like, none of this is real. Like this is all going to go away. Something terrible is going to happen. And then like,
it will.
Yeah, exactly. So that's
okay. So
stability.
So who cares?
Exactly.
I mean, I think, you know what I do when I wake up and I start, by the time I've had my first cup of coffee, I've figured out the 4 things that make, like 3-4 things that like the house of cards ain't gonna fall down today.
Yeah, that's exactly how I wake up in a panic.
Yeah,
I've solved the immediate problems, and then I think to myself like, okay, I have this moment of like, because I've had time to think through whatever was going on in the back of my head while I was sleeping.
Why do I, and like, it's like, all right, now it's not gonna fall apart. Now I can get some work done.
Right.
I know these things. I know I have to do those things. These things have to end by this time. I can't continue it or the whole thing comes. Yep. That's being an entrepreneur at the end of the day. That's really what it is. Just accepting the fact. Andrew Burns, one day, we were in San Francisco, and you go out and you say, like, what have you learned this summer? I've learned that everything is a total shit show when you lift up the hood.
Yep.
There's nothing that runs smoothly.
Me and Atu say the world is run by drunks, but that's our own terminology.
That's the same thing, right?
It's the same thing. Yeah.
I've now gotten into the rooms. I've been in the rooms when the decisions are made. Like big decisions. And you look around and you go, like these These are amateurs running major things. And it's not that they're amateurs, actually. It's that there's nobody else to do it.
Right.
We've built the world so big. Who has the experience necessary to be the CEO of Boeing? Right? Like go and find that person.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so you're building podcasts. You love podcasts. Like I appreciate you finally saying that, because that's really what this is about. Is you found something that you love, and it's uber hard to break in.
I don't think it's that uber hard to break in, but that's also in hindsight, you know, because like the smartest thing that you could do to break into podcasting is just start making clips for very famous successful people, because they have like their biggest bottleneck in the world is finding like an editor who's like motivated to actually like do it.
Anything.
Yeah. So like you send them like a finished product, like they're gonna post it, and then like the kid that we're gonna hire to do your clips is like some guy that did that for Melrose, also did it for like Andrew Schultz's like podcast, and that's how he markets himself. He's like, I did this shit for Flagrant 2. I did this shit for like Impulsive or whatever the other things that he did. I don't even remember. All I know is like, I know that kid went and he did it, and that's the mind frame I need, because I don't have time to do that.
I've told you about my friend Tripp. I've said, when you need somebody to go to, actually it was Atu, I said, when you need somebody to go to war, that's the guy you call.
Yeah.
Like, this is the guy.
Right.
There's nobody else. This is the guy you call, because he just won't stop. His basic premise when he didn't get a job out of law school is he would go to court, watch them argue about stuff, go home, do research all night long, put it into a document, show up at that person's office the next day. I saw him in court. I saw him arguing this thing. Here's my research. Thank you. That was how he started building his career.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's what you're talking about.
I love that kind of weird.
It's crazy weird.
It's kind of smart if you think about it. I
mean, how do you become great?
But it's weird. It's weird.
It's
that's the thing that people won't do.
Right.
They'll sit at home and complain they didn't get a job at a law firm.
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
Right? Like, that's the human behavior component. And I think you're right. It's super easy to break into podcasting. Record.
Yeah.
There you go. Now you're in podcasting.
Yeah.
If you tell me you want to have if you want to tell me you want to be working podcasting, and you didn't even make a podcast for yourself.
Yeah.
You didn't take a clip and send it to me. You don't really want to. You want somebody to give you it.
Yeah. And I mean, the only reason I knew how to work any of this equipment was because I was like, I had a couple of cameras that were, a quarter, an eighth of the cost of these. And I would get real hammered with my friends and push the on button on them. And I would, every time I did it, I'd be like, oh, that's like completely out of frame. I would tweak it even back then when I was just doing things that would certainly get me incriminated and thrown in jail now. Yeah.
Do you remember the Akash and
yeah, of course.
show?
I don't remember what it's called. I was on it. We were on it.
Yeah. Everybody was, right? Like,
yep. I loved that.
That's why those guys are awesome.
Yeah.
Because they just started doing it.
Yeah.
They had no idea. Like, they were doing like live shows. That's the dumbest idea ever.
Depends. I think the biggest thing is in-person live podcasts.
In-person live is different than like live on YouTube.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
they were like live on YouTube. So that means
Twitch says differently though.
Yeah. That's a different ball game.
Is it though?
Yeah.
Because it's called Twitch right now and it's not YouTube live stream or whatever?
No, I just think it's like there's a market and they congregate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll grant you that, but I don't like it.
I don't like it
me
either.
Me and the updating guys agree.
Yeah, I remember because I tried to clip that up and it didn't really. There wasn't enough to it.
Yeah, yeah. They.
I was gonna try to make it like updating says the Twitch like the Kai Sanat is not at the and it didn't work. And I don't like doing shit like that anyway. But if they were gonna shit on live streaming and it was like true, then I have no problem with saying that.
Yeah, and they're pretty good.
They're great.
Yeah. Why don't they have a podcast?
Because they don't need one. Not everybody needs one. Not everyone needs one, or the cost benefit analysis. It doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and
they
it's not the
do
dollars on their side.
They shouldn't
it's
do
the
it.
time, right?
They shouldn't. Yeah. Because it takes too much time for not enough of an ROI. Like if somebody put something together where that was going to change. But what I picture in my head of like updating, you should start a podcast, come into Melrose. Don't do that. They shouldn't do that.
Why not?
Because it's not worth it. Like, what are they gonna? What is that gonna do for them that they're not already doing? They're going crazy viral on TikTok. Like, they have like a legitimate YouTube platform. They should be on Netflix. I think that is just a matter of. You don't think so?
You know, like the Wings or the Chicken Shop girl.
Not particularly.
You know the Hot Wings guy or the Chicken Shop dating girl.
Chicken shop dating, I don't know. You're talking about the hot wings,
There's the guy in America that does the hot wing and he interviews celebrities and they eat the hottest wings.
Sean Evans dude.
Sean Evans. He went to like
hot ones,
hot ones.
There it is.
He went to one of those things and it fucking tanked.
He did like a Netflix show, you're saying?
Yeah, he's on like and then
I think it has to be done correctly. I think you gotta do something
girl.
with the tour and like finding love. You gotta like bachelorize it for what they do.
Chicken Shop girl's like a London socialite that does an interview in a chicken shop.
Okay.
Huge, massive. I don't think it works on TV. I don't think it works on streaming. It works on YouTube. Like 20 million views works on YouTube, right? But like there's some type of content that I don't know. It's like it's YouTube.
Let's peel it back though. Why if I'm updating, why do I want to be on Netflix? I wouldn't. Just like they wouldn't do a podcast, I wouldn't put them on linear streaming. I think for me the reason
it's not worth the money.
I was gonna say the bag, and then also the
bag. They're
brand.
not gonna get it. They're not gonna get it. Yeah. So when you make that decision, it's the brand. The brand value is the decision. So why does Mr. Beast go to Amazon to increase the audience size and reach people he can't reach on YouTube? Right. And that's where updating. When updating gets to the point that they can't build beyond that, or if they have something that's different than updating itself won't work. Likely won't work on Netflix.
What if it's a movie?
What's the movie, right? Is it scripted, unscripted, right? I mean,
no, but like, what I'm saying is like, what if they just did it in a different form factor? So if you're saying updating,
oh, for sure, it's gonna have to be a different form factor. That's what I'm saying. But they could take core values from it and take the creative and we're saying this, all of us watching them going, these guys are fucking awesome, right?
Yeah.
Like that's where we're coming from. And I'm saying they would have to change a lot to make it a Netflix show. They would have to what they have I just don't think it would work. I think they'd have to Russ talked about this in the podcast and it'll get up there. Like, don't take those folks and put them in, try to force them into linear, into that world. Try to make them better at what they're doing. And then when there's an opportunity to be in that, then it fits.
What does better even look like for them, though? Because I feel like they're have it tuned down.
Yeah, but it's a live show. I mean, maybe that, and they don't want to stream. So I like the thing that I could see, like, I'll tell you what I like what Netflix has been doing is those live, like the John Mulaney live I enjoyed Everybody Was in LA.
Yep.
I think having the Brady roast live was the right decision.
Yep.
People can disagree, critics, whatever, they don't like it. I think their live stuff. What's coming up this week? There's something coming up this week live.
I wasn't aware of it.
It's a comedy. I think it's a comedy. It's coming up very soon.
Something that's live premiere.
Live live premiere. It's gonna run on Netflix Live. And record live, I think. So
I like that a lot because it's missed, like that component, and that's why the Twitch thing is interesting to me. Like the content that's happening on there, personally, is very uninteresting to me.
Yeah.
But like the whole,
you're not watching video games.
The whole concept. I've always hated video games. I've like the most difficult to understand thing to me is like other people watching other people play video games.
They can do things you can't do. It's a simple phenomenon of basketball, football.
Yeah, it's not something
that I get. You ever try to act?
No.
It's impossible.
No, I can't do it.
We can't do it.
No.
Like that's the biggest like the biggest thing that I think is ridiculous is when like reality stars want to be actors or actresses,
Yeah.
right? And like they all do,
Yeah, of course they do.
but they don't. Like the market has already told them you're not an actor.
Right. You're you.
You're you.
Or some fucked up
And
version
you
of it
is
in your head.
interesting.
Yeah.
You is interesting.
Or marketable.
Or marketable. Yeah. Like there's an audience where you are interesting, right? That
Yep.
hyper specification of content allows for that. The and that's where I think like maybe only 200 people find you interesting, maybe 2,000, maybe 20,000, maybe 200,000. But
Yeah, you got to
like,
go find out.
that's what a reality star is at the core. They're not an actor.
Right.
Like that's hard.
Yeah, it's hard. I don't understand. I never got the infatuation with wanting to act and stuff. And
Well,
you know what?
you're the biggest. All the lights are on
the
you.
product. I'm talking about the process of doing it, like the end product of it, like living that life. I totally get that. Who wouldn't get that? You look at it; it's glamorized everywhere. One thing I want to ask you about this. I didn't realize this till later on in like getting into podcasting and then comedy. Why do you think comedians want to be actors a lot of the time? Like those things seem.
So I think it's a more
very
legitimate
diametrically
actor is a very legitimate thing.
Yeah, and they're always being told, "Oh, you're just fucking
they've
comic."
been normalized to believe that the goal of being a comedian. Somebody walked us through the Ari walked us through this. Like you get this, then you get to the feature, then you get to this, and then you get the show. And like,
no, but knowing Ari, like that's
like,
what's crazy to me about it. It's like that would be the last thing. Like picture him as some like serious actor or whatever. But they like it is a thing for comics. They want to be actors. A lot of them.
Yeah, that's because that's the goal.
Yeah. I guess.
And that's their pathway to it. But really, when you see the best comedians, they should stay doing comedy.
Absolutely. But the concept that's so sticky because that's like a 90s, early 2000s, like at best thing that everybody, like all the comedians, like the last
when Richard Pryor made it as a actor,
that's even further
that's where that started, and it moved up, and like the dollar amounts between what Richard Pryor made and
for sure,
and the best comedians on tour in the 1970s who we don't know any of their names. Yeah. I think,
but we've been in YouTube era for a long enough time that you would think that shit had died off.
Why do social media influencers want to be in linear TV?
It's a sticky thing. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't. I do believe in doing the thing you're best at and like really get that intrinsic value. And what happens is you make that move, you end up in a place and now you're not happy. And like you see it over and over again. Musicians, comedians, most of the folks that end up with really big chemical issues as well, abuse issues, ended up in a place where they were fundamentally unhappy because they weren't doing what they actually wanted to be doing.
And it's funny that they went through the process of becoming successful in something that's difficult in another regard. Then they transition into this other thing once they attain the success. It doesn't work out. Like you would think that they'd be able to kind of backtrack that a little bit. Like, okay, I tried that. Didn't work. Back
it up and then reframe the question of once you're one of the most successful comedians in the world, what then?
Oh, I don't know. It's like anything else. You're just
right.
done.
You got to go do something else. So you look at an adjacent place.
Yeah.
And try to go conquer that. Right. Like, and so that's another piece. Like, you know, once you're great, once you're truly great, now everyone's coming for you.
Yeah.
Right.
And they want to say you're everything except for great.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. So I don't know where we're going with this conversation, but it's a phenomenon. It's similar to the people that are funny, so they think they can be comedians.
Right.
You're funny. No, you've achieved the height of your comedic success is being funny.
Yeah.
You'd be on stage if you were a comedian.
Yeah.
You can't just go be on stage.
No.
Right? Do you want to be on stage?
Yeah, I would like to. I don't think I'd make a career out of it, really, but I don't know.
So why do you want to do it?
Because it's one of the few things that gives me a lot of anxiety still at this point. So I have to do it.
Right, but why?
Why does it? Because something I care about.
Why?
Which one?
Why do you do it? Like, why? Okay, you got anxiety. Who cares?
I do. When I have a weird thing with that. If I have anxiety about something, I want to figure
But
out.
What's
how
the
to
root
quell it.
cause?
Because I care about it a lot.
Okay,
I
so
respect the people that do it. I respect the art of it, and I think that I have the potential to be good at it. And the thought of going up and fucking bombing, which you like is just a given in it, still gives me anxiety.
And so it's your marathon.
Yeah.
It's running a marathon.
Yep.
I can run 26.2 miles. I'll show you.
Yep.
Everyone else goes, no, you can't. Okay, I will.
Yeah.
And then you run it.
Right.
And you're like, is that it? Like you go and you have a great set. You get 30 minutes. What do you do?
I don't know. Because to be honest with you, like looking at a lot of people that are at the top of the...
What do you do? Are you doing open mics now? Are you doing sets?
I've yet to do any of that.
So you don't actually want to be on stage?
Apparently not bad enough because I would have been there.
I don't know. If you really wanted to, you choose to.
I will.
When? I will. Till you die from a nitrate. That's yeah.
No, I understand what you're saying. I still like to think that I will at some point. Maybe I won't.
Like, why don't you just go and write a joke and go tell it?
That's one of the biggest parts of it. I have like probably like it just keeps scrolling and scrolling. I have premises. I can't write a joke for fuck.
So then how could you be good at being a comedian? I think we should do, after the Worldwide Weenie Tour, we should do Chris's first open mic. And we'll just like harass him on camera until he like gets in there and does it. Cause like, I think, yeah. So yeah, I mean, so that was the premise of my first podcast.
What's that? Harassing people until they do
something? Nicole Gumala was a student in West Hartford and she always wanted to be a dolphin trainer. And I asked her like, well, why didn't you become a dolphin trainer? Well, because nobody becomes a dolphin trainer, right? Like people were mean to her, and so she didn't want to do that. And like she ends up with a marketing job, and like so we said, well, what do you want to be now? And she says, well, I'd love to be a comedian. I'd love to be doing these things. And so I was like, well, why don't you do it? And so the conversation, it was like we had planned out like a 8-episode thing. We got a producer at UConn thing.
Yeah,
she was good. She knew what she was doing.
Right.
She ended up at like iHeart producing things or something. Like she's probably like famous now, right? Like, and she was good. And she did the first 3 episodes and then she disappeared. And like, but the last episode was supposed to be, the second to last was Nicole telling her parents she was going to do an open mic.
Yeah.
And the last episode was her having done the open mic.
What was she doing for the other like 6?
10. We were working from dolphin trainer, like that career. Like, she wanted to be a dolphin trainer when she was 10, and people were mean to her, and this. So like, I get like, this is the piece. Like, you want to be a podcast? Yeah. You want to do stand-up? Like, if you really want to get on stage, go get it. Like, you're smart enough now. You know the truth. You know the honesty. You know you're gonna suck the first 150 times. Why not put 10 of them? Like, you know, you can't do it every night. Right. But you could still go do it once a month, once every 6 weeks, no matter what your schedule is.
Yeah, that's fair.
So it's just an excuse at some point. We all make them and we need them. But
yeah, no, I've had many an excuse that have changed over the years. Now it feels
like, are you funny?
I think so.
What proof do you have?
Reactions that I can't pull right now.
Yeah, all right. So interactions with friends, interactions in groups,
other people. It's the like to the
because I know you as professional, like generally professional.
Right. The back to the networking point, like if I have any shot in any scenario of meeting new people or anything, I have to be making jokes. I can't do like the small talk thing.
Right. So you make jokes.
Yeah.
You make quips.
Right. And then I test the waters and I go deeper and deeper until like I push it.
Okay.
And push it. Yeah.
So you're writing jokes.
Yeah, but I like the actual sit down and like write something that I can actually bring and present to stage has been one of the main issues for me.
Is doing that the issue, or is your censorship of what you've done not being at professional level the issue?
It's like, both. It's both. It's both.
Yeah. So because you haven't told it and you haven't iterated it in front of a live audience, it's not as good as it would be if you had been building those reps.
Yeah. I also look that one of my things about this is that I think it takes an insane, like, we're talking about wanting to be the best at whatever we're doing, right?
Yeah.
So my personal belief about being a stand-up comedian is you need an intensive amount of time, like maybe more than anything else. And dedication of thought to that thing. I can like barely at this point like have time for a spare non-work related thought. That's part of.
That's fair.
You can make time for anything though. I don't.
That's fair. Your point is fair, but you could also work towards the goal of getting on stage for the first time, not work towards the goal of being the best comedian in the world.
Yeah, that's fair.
And and also recognize you're not going to be the best comedian in the world.
Yeah. Unless I decide to.
Unless you decide to.
Right.
Unless you decide to not do the production, not do this, not do that for a long period of time.
And become like 1,000% funnier.
Right. Yeah. All those things, right? I mean, so I think like, so here's where maybe this is interesting, is like, people could have a podcast. People could have a quality social feed, a quality YouTube channel.
Yep.
They don't have to be massive successes to receive the joy of doing these things.
Nope.
Why'd you want to do this show today?
Why did I want to come on to your show?
Yeah, you were like, all right, hey, this is the time.
Because I think we have valuable conversations that don't get put anywhere. Like, I think that some of our conversations would be valuable to other people and centric around the things that you talk about on the show.
Mm-hmm. And so you've seen more and listened to more of our show than anyone ever could.
Right.
More than me. You know more about our show than me. What is it that's causing you that positive feeling, that intrinsic value about working on this, such that you've done 20 episodes and you want to sit here and talk about some of these things?
Like you, I think a lot of people are going to be in this line of work, in this industry, however you want to term it. And I don't think the average person that is involved, will be involved in that line of work, has thought about it like as much as we have, to the point of what does this look like in maturity, more so. So like, people are still like, how do I go get a job at like Barstool? Where like,
that's the dumbest question. And every one of my championship lab students have it.
Yeah.
And it's like,
no, you're thinking about it wrong.
You're not getting a job at Barstool. Right. Because you haven't done all the thing. Like, you were on championship labs. You had access to UConn's athletic departments. Right. You had cameras. You have friends, people, and you haven't done it. So they're not hiring you. No. Because they're going to hire the person that's doing it.
Even when I started working here, and things were not like, they were doing better than when I started, but like not nearly as well as they're going now. Ari was like, found out that I lived in Queens. He's like, oh, I don't know if it's like worth it for you. I'm like, dude, you're touring with Theo Von. I just saw fucking Tony Hinchcliffe's number pop on your phone. Like, these are like top tier comedian. Like, I look at that and I'm like, okay, I have access to someone who's at least peripheral to these things. I will figure out something from this. I'll piece this together. He was like, I told him that I knew people at like Sirius and stuff like that. He's like, why the fuck don't you just, he got somebody that was dependable in here, but he's also like, why don't you go work for Sirius? That seems like a much better, like, I don't look at it like that. I look at it as like the ceiling at a Sirius or a Barstool, if you play the like company game within that, is much like far lower than where I imagined myself to be. And I think many of the people that come into this position need to think that way as well.
Dave Portnoy has no peers in Barstool.
No.
He will never have a peer in Barstool.
No.
The second time the second you start sucking the light away, you will have to leave.
Correct. And he has people that may, like some people may, those people appear to be peers to, no, they're not peers.
Right.
There's the reason that people were talking about Dave Portnoy. The reason that they're there is so that it doesn't stick out that far as that much of a sore thumb, you know?
I mean, it doesn't, I mean, he went to Michigan, so who cares? But like when you think about that, he was way ahead. That's true.
Yeah.
He's way ahead.
But that's a very good example of like, you don't even know what it's going to look like yet. You just look at the opportunity of like, there's eyeballs around this. I really enjoy this. There's something around this, and I'll figure out what it looks like in maturity. Like if I had to try to stencil out everything in terms of, even now, like what this all looks like in maturity, I'd spend the rest of my life just doing that. Like you'll figure it out as the opportunities come if you're paying attention and you're the type of person that enjoys that sort of problem.
When you're building, you're not slotting in.
Right.
There's a difference.
Yeah.
And so when you start to work through the building component, you can build off of a blueprint that's called McDonald's.
Yep.
Or you can draw the blueprint yourself, realize the house won't fall the fuck down, and then redo it, right? And you have to learn. And I think people see these new industries and they wonder, like, how do I do it? And the reality is you just start showing up at some point. Like, you got into podcasting early still, but I guarantee you were feeling like you were too late.
Late as fuck, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How many
by 2020, like 2020 was when I really started doing it like professionally. I had shot other stuff starting back in 2018. I remember looking at like what the podcast consumption was on like Apple versus Spotify, and when that flipped, when they were handing out a bunch of money, like that was back in like 2017, 2018. But like that was late. That was late. Joe Rogan's been doing this shit since like 2009.
When you think of other, like, was NVIDIA late to the chip game, right? Like, no, they...
Just because it existed before doesn't mean that you're late to it,
that's
you know?
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
The timing of like businesses and startups and stuff, you hear the timing is one of the most important things.
You always think you're late because you're always looking up.
I think it was still late to podcasting.
It's not late to
I think it is.
I consume a lot of Gary V content. And like, again, going back, this is growing. It's not receding. The formulations, the winners, the what matters, how you become the biggest, like a lot of different things around it that will be hashed out in the future, not today. Like what works today won't work then. But like if you're not in it today, you're going to be behind someone later, most likely. But just because you're late compared to Joe Rogan, it doesn't make you late.
Yeah, it does. It definitely doesn't mean you're not going to be successful. And to that point, like there were far less producer opportunities at that time because there was less shows.
What is the show that you dream of making? Like podcasts are podcasts today, right? Like, and I don't really know the question that I'm asking. So if you don't know the answer, that's fine. But like you want to be a producer, you want to be a great producer. You know there's plenty of innovation in the medium left.
There is, but it's so saturated that it's hard to find it. You know, like it makes it that much more challenging because everybody has like elements of the hit show, but like you got to have all of them or most of them to make the hit show. You probably start with most of or some of, and then you build up to most of and all of.
And so what is the thing that you want to do differently than what other people are doing right now?
A lot of it goes into this show, and that's like what when I think about my own show, there's so much overlap between that and this. Like I'm building a lot of the things that I want to build into my own show into this, which is like, okay, we're not just gonna go for it. And I think this would be the case whether we were the biggest show in the world or, you know, where we're at right now. The reason,
which is not the biggest show in the world.
Correct. I thought maybe people would be able to deduce that.
Well, it might be by the time this gets on air.
Even if we had access to all of the biggest like talent and stuff in the world, which like theoretically we do, I don't think that we go to talk to those people. Like that's not the barometer for come on the show.
Yeah, I don't have much interest in talking with Theo Von unless the topic is interesting.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't want to talk to Theo Von because he's too far removed from building the weekend, whatever the show is.
Yeah.
When Ari and him did it.
Right.
If he was working on something new, that would be interesting. So, like, I think the way I would define success is when the biggest producers in the world, the biggest people that want to do something a little bit different, want to come on and talk strategy. They want to come on. They want to build in public a little bit because, like, that's a positive. There's positive interaction with the market and with smart people. That would be the ideal show for me. Like, that would be where I'm like, all right, that's like, they're working on the biggest deals, the biggest shows, the biggest things. That would be a lot of fun for me. And until then, I'd rather work with people that are trying to build something.
Yeah. I've always been interested in the thought processes behind creating something. Like whether it's like the art, like my introduction to podcasting would be like hip hop podcasts, listening to people talk about like albums, how they make or release music in my rap battle career. You're gonna have to give me a battle rapper name at some point.
Some point. Well, you have one, so.
But I love that, and then also the business side of that. And we were talking about how those things are very intertwined because in order to have true editorial control, you need to have at least a plan of how you're going to protect that with the business.
Yeah, for sure.
And I've been obsessed with that since I was in like the 8th grade probably. So I don't need to talk probably at this point, honestly, music artists are probably the least that I want to talk to because I've worked with enough of them now to know that they're insane and I don't like being around them.
Okay.
I like watching the interviews more at this point, I think, than I would conducting them, save for like a small handful of people.
So I'm going to bring a small musician who's trying to build a label at some point and has like, it's definitely not a rapper. But I think I've got one. When next time he's in New York, we'll bring him in and we'll dissect it. I'm gonna advise, I think, on the building of the label.
Okay.
Music's interesting.
It is.
Is it just the particular music that you were working on, the particular people that are succeeding? What is it?
I'm generalizing a lot, but like a lot of like it's a job, I think, where you have to be in touch with the full spectrum of all your emotions and like fluctuations and stuff. And that is like honestly not the most fun thing to like work with or produce. You know what I'm saying? Because you're getting, you don't know exactly
I don't know
what
you're saying because I've never produced anything like
you
that.
don't know where people are coming from. Like, did they have like a bad day or like what's happening with the fucked up music business side of things?
They can't compartmentalize.
Yeah, no.
Because they've not. So I think a lot
or
of that.
Or don't attempt to,
because it's too hard to compartmentalize and then and then move around.
The other part of that also is like there's definitely been another portion of people that I've worked with that understand that is the perception of artists, so that they lean really hard into it.
So method actors are very similar.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Could you imagine being married to a method actor where like they go off and like you got to deal with that person for 8 months and then like there's something else. No, I mean he's crazy, dude, and that's why he's like literally probably the best actor in the world.
Yeah.
Right. And he like goes all the way in, all the way through. There's some cool stuff to that. We can bring some of those people in. That's where I think a Steph can improve the show, like where her network's able to tap into some of these people.
Right.
But I think, and we can get niche into this, like we can get niche into those things. I agree with you. But I think the idea of building stuff, like they're building things, specifically businesses, right? And like, I think we have to stop looking at artistic endeavors as purely artistic endeavors because they're businesses at the core.
No, you could go do that in a room. Go do that in a room. You're not doing it in a room. If you're
you
in public and doing this art in public, you're doing it
as a business.
Yes, as a business. Okay, you want to make people feel stuff. That's great. Like, I'm sure there's a more efficient way of reaching people where it involves no business. But guess what? Like, if you want to live the lifestyle that you want to live, and I'm not talking about like buying fucking Ferraris and stuff like that. I'm just talking about like insulating the editorial and creative control.
Stability.
Yeah, stability.
Yeah. Right? Like, if you want to do it, you got to build it as a business. Yeah. I had the conversation today, and I like, how are you evaluating brand deals? Oh, we look at them as they come in. Okay, we're changing this.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. What do you mean? Oh, next week we're going to start a weekly meeting, and we're going to bring everybody in every week, and we're going to look at every deal before we accept any deal.
Right.
Why? Because you just lost like 80 grand. Like, you just told me you lost 80 grand and like you learned a lot. Congratulations. Somebody else, I can bring somebody else that's already lost that 80 grand in.
Yeah.
And we can learn from them losing it
and
fix it right here. Right? Like, and this is what I'm saying. When Theo Vaughn goes to Level Up, which he probably won't based on a lot of his behaviors, but I mean, like, someone goes to Level Up in that category, they're going to lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And like, we can take networks in this space and solve those problems and lose less money when they level up and help them get to that next level. That's what I want to do with my career. Like, that's where I want to be.
Why is it important to fix those inefficiencies?
Because you can go faster and further with a good team than you can go by yourself. Every time.
Is it also just because you look at it and you're like, it's easy, like we could just fix this and it's easy?
No, it's hard.
It's not?
No, it's always hard. It's always hard. It's never easy and it's always hard. But there are small things that you can look at. You can immediately improve the situation with small things, but to get to the bigger things,
that's what I mean.
Right? Like, no. Yeah. So, all right, we can improve this tomorrow by 8%, but I want to improve it by 42%. Right. And that's going to be hard. And every time you get closer to the top, eat that little. So you look at a golfer and you're like, oh, that person's a -2 handicap. You're like, why aren't they playing on the tour?
Yeah.
They're not good enough to play on the tour. That's why they're not playing on the tour. That's not good enough. Like, it's not the -2. It's the social when you go onto the course, when you do this, when you do this, when you do this, they haven't practiced enough. They haven't gotten good enough. They're not at that level. Now, they had the raw talent. There are a set of decisions there because you can't be a -2 handicapper without that raw talent.
Yeah.
Right? There's a set of decisions that they made in their lifetime that hasn't allowed them to go. There's a multitude of reasons, all of that. I'm just saying there's someone out there with a -2 handicap that wants to be a professional golfer. I can help them get there. I know that.
Say somebody has the raw talent, right?
Yeah.
But they don't make that sequence of decisions early in life to become like top of their game. Is there fixing that person?
Yeah.
Yeah?
For sure.
You think there's a point?
You can pivot tomorrow. For sure.
But do you carry through with the work ethic is what I'm saying to actually do it?
Well, that's a decision every day. That's a decision every day. I certainly didn't have that work ethic at 21 years old.
Yeah, me neither.
Right? Like, I did not have it at 25 years old. I started to pick it up around 32. So
what do you think caused that change? Quick tangent on that.
Yeah, really, really easy. I know exactly what caused that change. Watching other people with less talent get better opportunities. And instead of making excuses for why they're getting it, I looked in the mirror and said, I'm the problem, accepted that, and started to improve where I could.
Yep.
One step at a time. None of it happened overnight. Like, dude, like, I've made this point. Someone's like, oh, you can't dog where you started at UConn. I started at the bottom.
Yeah.
I'm a throwaway of the academic area. What those people that are uber successful in publishing don't often realize is that I looked at it and said, oh, that's just like being a lawyer, except you get paid 1/3 of what you get paid as a lawyer. I've already decided I don't want to be a lawyer. I'm willing to get paid 1/10 of what you get paid as a lawyer. So I refuse to fucking do that. So now you can be poor or you can get really good at something. And like,
or both for a while.
Yeah, well, usually it's both, right? You're going to have to be poor to get really good at something. Yeah. That's often the case. But yeah, no, it was a very clear, conscious decision that the reason other people were getting opportunities with less talent had nothing to do with talent and had everything to do with small things being done right and the trust that people put in them to execute at some minimal level. You'll often hear me talk about that in organizations and different things. And we just said it earlier, like, oh, these people, they're not that smart. But they don't fuck up in a huge way.
Yep.
And people look at me and go, yeah, you might have this huge positive outcome, but he could totally fuck the pooch. So I'm not going to bet there. And so what I had to do was go and create a track record from that point on of not fucking up. And then they're like, oh, well.
How do you do that enough to a level where people care starting out where you started out at?
It's they don't care. It's like they all have a short memory anyway. So you just start to build. This is a good question. So in a company, in anything actually, and Holly, my wife, says this. It's more important to be on a high profile project than it is to be really, really good.
I say that all the time. People up on the wall, like I have any association to working with any of those shows, like I spent years trying to get the amount of attention that gets me, and not just attention, but like willingness to work and give you work. And then it just took me like filming one thing. And I was like, my life is now changed forever. I didn't become any better of a producer. Like the shots weren't crisper. Like the audio wasn't
if
bumping,
you weren't minimalistically good enough at that level, they wouldn't. Yeah. You wouldn't get a call back.
Right.
But yeah, once someone there's a thing, whether it's finance, whether it's running companies. Once someone puts their thumb on you and says you're good enough, nobody has the energy or time to second guess that decision. So there are people in the world that people trust their decision make. I did this on a text today with Noah Sobel-Pressman. And I'm like, hey, this is Noah. Blah, blah, blah. He's great. He's fantastic. He's all these things. Then the next text was just to the guy. Hey, Noah doesn't give the best first impression. He's ultimately aware of this. Like, there's a bunch of things. Trust me, he's a guy you bet on.
Yeah.
There's a nice thing about that because, like, I know I'm right. He's not going to be sorry making that bet. I get to see where that person values my judgment. Am I a peer or am I a subordinate? Because if I'm a peer, it's really good for me, and I'd like to think I am. I like to think that I have the credibility to go in and say, look, dude, no matter what, you're going to pay him less than he's worth.
Yep.
He's going to overperform. He always overperforms. And he's going to work he's going to work till he bleeds, generally. And by the way, he's done this thing that nobody else has ever done. And I know I'm going to come out looking good at the very least. Now, he might not have a space for him. He might not have a good fit. A lot of us, we don't fit into things. All of us, our crew, the people we know, the students that have come in and vacillated around the world that we built, we don't fit into the model. We have to accept that, right? Noah doesn't fit into your traditional model. But trust me, if you're as smart as I think, you're going to get great value and you'll find a place to put him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to have a reputation. You got to be this. And private equity firms hire people from investment banks that have worked there less than 2 weeks before they give them an offer. Morgan Stanley reviewed them, gave them the thumbs in. Now they're in our world. Yeah. That's it. So, and most kids get investment banking jobs because their parents were investment bankers or clients of investment bankers, right? And that's dumb. And That's what those pictures on the wall are. The same thing for this show, right? Hey, come on my show. Oh, yeah? Oh, you know, you're a little worried about being on a show with no followers, no this, no that. All right, look at our show. Look at the product. Okay, it's high quality product.
We're moving up, by the way, to almost no followers.
Oh, yeah. We're
about to break 200, dude.
Dude, we're already over 200 this week.
Yeah,
we're already over 200 by the end of the weekend. Yep. So, like,
the reels are doing better.
The reels are doing well. The TikTok does terrible. That's all right. That's me. But all of that stuff. But like, I'll keep saying we have no followers. Like, we could have 2 million followers, and I'll be like, nobody's listening, right? Like,
it's just us.
Yeah. So, but they come to, like, when they come in here, they're like, oh, this is a real thing. Like, I get credibility by filming here.
Well, that's also what Ari said. Like, whatever he's doing, he wants to do it correctly. Like, you don't need to have 2 million followers to shoot something correctly. You need to be able to invest in the means of production, invest the time or find somebody that's
knowledge
invested
or time.
Yeah. And then do it. Like, you can do that with anything, not podcasting. It's like more so a method of how you do things in general.
Precisely. And so once you get through that, you have that minimal level, you get a shot. You always get a shot. Someone always gets a shot. Sometimes you miss your shot.
What do you think this show not the show, but what do you think the average guest looks like? You kind of answered this already. As this show gets to maturity, like as it gets to the scale that it can
I think we'll
get to.
still do the kids. Like, the show will be a sales funnel for bigger entertainment deals, right? It'll always be that. Or to Atu's point, like, it's our network. Start growing our network, we can move into new industries, et cetera. So we'll want to do young, upcoming talent, like always. I think if we built something that people were really paying attention to, there would be that mix. I like the way that seeing other people, like the way she was talking about, she just had a great, I thought she thought about it. Like, there was intentionality. Like, that was apparent to me, and I don't think I really had that. So if I, speaking out loud to go to it, it would be 3 or 4 people trying to build something over time. And then those bigger people in the industry, the ones that are real, the ones that know knowledge, that know quality, that know impact, that know that, would come here and talk about it. You know what I mean? Like, that would be the thing that, oh, I'm successful. It's like when people that could go anywhere choose to come talk to you about what they're trying to build. That, like, I can't think of a better way it's like teaching kids, right? Like, you want to teach kids that are hungry. Well, okay, do you want to teach, like everybody else in the school business, do you want to teach people that were able to go through the system and get a 4.0, or do you want to teach people that are hungry? And I want to teach kids that are hungry.
Clearly, you would have never met me if it's a 4.0.
You were actually hungry. Like,
I wasn't. I guess
I mean, I think I paid for it.
Yeah, you definitely.
I think I definitely paid for people's food during periods of time. I think that's really important for kids, like college kids, pay for this or pay for that. Like, that's what creates extraordinary opportunity, right? And like, you see it with comedians too, right? Like, they have to take, when one hits, they have to take the others with them and make sure they're eating. That's ultimately, that's how I see myself. I don't see myself really as a teacher. I see myself as a student that hit. I make a lot more money than the person that's paying to be there, but I'm really just a student. This is a huge platform. So, I think what we would do is we would emerge a show beyond the scale and scope of the world I live in, which is essentially Yukon, right? And the best and the brightest would choose to come and hash out in public what it is they're building.
Why do they want to talk to you?
I think there's a couple of reasons. One, I'm honest about it. Like, so why would anyone want to come? Because I'm going to be as honest as I can be with my biases. I'm biased, but I'm going to be as honest as I can. And I'm going to be thoughtful. And even when I don't like what you're doing, I'm still going to approach it with thoughtfulness, right? Like I'm going to think through it. I'm going to make a joke, but also when I'm making the joke, oftentimes I'm thinking in my head. That's my a lot of times is like I make that snarky thing. It's because this person is doing something and it's like you're trying to come back with some. So buy yourself some time, buy this, buy that. And
to come up with the real question,
to come up with the real answer, the real question, the real piece of whatever I have that will help them to the next step. I think there's also, I have a very clear strategic mind that Peter Wirth said this to me. He's like, you're a lot like me in that you see the whole map and you make sense of it almost immediately. And so I can see where the business came from. I can't explain how I can do it oftentimes. It's so simple to me. It's as easy as 1 + 1 = 2. So like we have these conversations. I'm like, how do you know that? And I'm like, I can't tell you. It's 1 + 1 = 2 in my brain. Like it's different. I don't read words. I can look at pages and digest the information. Like I didn't know that for 35 years.
But that didn't come from the like organizational psychology. Like that was there.
No, but it's
already,
no,
right?
it's
reinforced by it.
Right, but it's the connections that I'm able to make that are nonlinear. So I can see the thing much bigger. I don't approach it from, all right, this is me as why are you doing television production? What do I add of value to that? I don't approach it as a television producer. Why am I a university administrator, right? Like, oh, I don't approach it as a university administrator. Why do you do that? I don't approach it from that role. I approach it from the picture that's out there. And I think that's different than most people.
You're directing traffic at a bunch of different crosswalks, basically. Like you're at intersections of things.
For sure. And those intersections, seeing in all the different directions, like I care enough to look in the different directions and understand. I also learn really, really quickly. That's the other piece. Like, and we got into some of this language because I've been trying to work through the articulation of it. Hard work makes you smarter than 99 out of 100 people.
Yeah.
Intentional learning, it doesn't take you but 2 weeks to be smarter than 99 people out of 100 on almost any topic in the world.
Yeah.
You can't be at the top. But if you dedicated day and night for 2 weeks to something, you're going to be pretty fucking smart on it.
Because who learns like that? Like who actually does that? No. I'm saying like how many people actually do that? Like
no
sit down
one.
And
that's why they can't believe that I would do it. So they approach ththings that, like, one of the big qualms is, how do you know this? 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 And it's like, I don't know. We haven't really done it yet. We haven't figured out how to do it on social, but when we do, we'll repackage it in the right way. But it's this saying yes to things. I've had so many different unique experiences because I'm going through it. Oh, I want to learn about this. Like, best way to learn, turn on the camera, point it at something, make sure you hit record, drop it in. You know what I mean? Like all those things, none of those things are hard, but they all require time to learn. When I get on something, I will spend an immense amount of time. Around that period where I got very serious about things, I was also, my networking, my natural networking had grown to a level that I could contact people. I can ping world experts on almost anything. Do you know what I mean?
How do you get to be, it's just the saying yes? Is that what you're?
Actual curiosity, interest. Like, I treat people.
Yeah, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that are around world experts that are interested in what they're doing. Why do you end up in the not?
Oh, plenty say no too, and I think Atu will back this up. Like, he probably spends zero amount of time thinking about the 9 people that didn't return his email, text, or whatever, but he spends all the time thinking about the one that did, because there's redundancies in it, right? I mean, So yeah, you spend no time worried about the no's, the people that you miss, the opportunity. That world expert didn't do it. Well, go to this one, and you just build those repetitions. Saying yes and helping people, I think, is a fundamental. People help people that help people. It's so stupid to say it, but you help me, someone's gonna help you. I helped you, you helped me. I help Atu, you help me. Like
the corporate
there's never
people can't understand that.
There's
like,
not a dollar for dollar helping, right?
Yeah, and the corporate people cannot understand that. Like they can't.
No, most of them can't.
Because the system is different.
And their colleagues and their friends, those that do, judge them negative. Like, why would you help that person?
Yeah.
Because
everybody needs fucking help sometimes.
I've asked the question 2-3 times around the stability piece. Can you make $500 tomorrow? Can you make $1,000 tomorrow? Everyone that helps people can.
Yeah.
Like, fucking, like, how fundamentally important is that? Because you're absolutely right. Because, like, your company blows up. They let you go. You get fired. You fuck up. Like, all those things will happen over the course of a finite lifetime, which is relatively long. Let's call it a 50-year career. They all will happen to all of us. And we're only pretending that they won't. Like, that's it. So might as well, I take the approach, might as well help. Then you start to help. And then I look at it, I'm like, there was a clear period where I was like, oh, fuck. Like, I can build a whole army of people in the world.
Yeah.
That will help me.
Yeah.
All I got to do is help them at this critical juncture. Going back to Atu saw Sarah Leeds Doorman Stories. She sent me a text this week like, oh, Ato's so nice. I can never say the poor guy's name fucking right. All the things he's done for me over the years, right?
You've
like,
helped him out of critical juncture.
But he's helped me, but like, again, she's at a point where she'll appreciate whatever help we do, right?
Of course.
There'll be a day where you're like, hey, I need you to do this. And people go, yeah. Because you've been there and you've built a reputation as the person that will do it. Why would you want to be, it's intrinsic value. Why do you spend your time working on podcasts? Because something happened. I like helping people. I also like this. I guess this stability, if we're being really honest, I think stability to me is knowing there are people I can call at any time of day, night, with any problem.
Yeah, because those relationships don't change, and especially a lineage of them don't change overnight.
If you killed someone tonight, who are you going to call? I know who I'm going to call.
Oh, I know who I'm going to call too. I thought you were asking me.
But I've called and I know what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know who I'm going to call. I know who I'm going to call and I know what the response is going to be.
Yeah.
And like, I think most people, because they're not in the habit of asking for help and they think they have to do it themselves, they think they're a burden, they're this, they don't know what's going to happen when they ask for help, so they're afraid to ask for help. And there's a lot of those people. Like, and I ask for help all the time. And the price of that is going, yeah, I'll help you.
Yeah.
That's it. It's just such a simple economics play to me.
Why do you want to be famous?
Because I can't.
You want to help a lot of people.
Yeah, but I mean, no. More ego. When you get as good at things as I think I am, you want the recognition of being that good. I can live and die without the recognition, but I would rather have it.
Yeah. What do you, in that case, then, what do you want to be? What do you want the recognition for? Like being good at?
It literally doesn't matter. Like, dude.
Wait, hold on. If the reasoning is that you believe that you are so good at.
I'm good at a lot of things. Like,
okay, so pick any of the things.
Right now,
What do you think you're most likely to become famous for that you're really good at?
Well, so the recognition is different, right? Like famous is different than recognition at some level.
True.
Like the thing I'm of all the accolades I've ever gotten, probably the one I'm most proud of is I'm a colonel in the Alabama State Militia.
Of course.
I love this one because I was on a coaching staff at Alabama and the head coach won National Coach of the Year. And when you're on the coaching staff, you get a little plaque that says you're on it because it's really, they put the spotlight on the head coach. Why do you want to be a comedian? Look, man, I would want to be famous because I'm that good behind the scenes, and I'd like at one of these points for the light to be on me as the person that did it. I've done the things behind the scenes over and over and over again, including be the fall guy, be the person that takes the blame, including being this. I've paid all the dues. I've done it all. I now have a good salary, good to great salary. I now have, I fully believe I can make a living and make more money than I make now doing almost anything. I have friends. I have a wife I love, probably add a family to that mix. But like, one point I don't want to be, there's one point in time where I don't want to be the weird person that doesn't fit. I want to be the person just once where they go, yeah, that's why I want to be famous.
You know you're only going to be famous for being the weird person that doesn't fit, right?
Yeah, but I think I want somebody to get it. I think I want somebody to get it. Like, I want somebody to understand.
Somebody to get it. What does it look like?
I want someone to understand that doesn't have to sit there and ask those questions.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like, I want somebody that like looks at the body of work and looks at all the things and goes, yeah, I get that. And I think I'll only get it if I achieve a level of success in something that is at the absolute pinnacle. Like, because I just don't think enough people, all right, I'm weird. So you got to hit a number of people.
Yeah.
The number of people that have to see it to get it. And I want there to be one person in the world that's like, yeah, that's a person. Like, I totally understand how they're thinking. You know what I mean? Like, and like, if
the mark is one person in the world, I'm pretty sure you've achieved that.
Maybe, but I've never had that conversation with someone in 46 years. I've never had someone be like, yeah, I understand you. I have people that will say, oh, you're this, you're that, you're this. But we've never hit that point where someone just like walked up and was like, yeah, why'd you quit being a lawyer? Why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? Why'd I quit being a lawyer? Like, I'd like someone to be like, yeah, you quit being a lawyer because you're doing something way more fucking interesting. Like, just those conversations would be nice.
Oh, I think you're talking to, I wouldn't say mainly people like that, but.
No, that's what I like about the pure entrepreneurs. Like, I think they're closest to getting it, right? Like, successful entrepreneurs that have spent 10 years toiling. The 10-year
because
overnight.
You said fuck everything else. Like, I'm going to go do this thing because
they're the
I
closest.
think so.
Right.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I really love about these content creators that have, like, they don't know what they are.
Yeah, no,
fundamentally.
it is interesting to see that.
They don't know what they are, but I know what they are. And I think that's the closest thing to me. Like, all right, here's one to take this. I think I prefer talking to the guys on this show that we do, but I think the girls like it better than the guys do.
Like the conversation
conversations.
Better? Yeah, I think that's true.
And that's weird. I can't figure that out yet.
I think you talk to the girls in a way that most people are afraid to talk to girls too, and that's one thing that they find like challenging. Okay. Like Alana just came in here, but also like refreshing once you get through you get to the presentation of it.
I've had that with any sort of minority that you want to claim, black,
Yeah.
whatever, any sort of all the letters, any sort of gay, lesbian, etc. I think there's a cutting through the chase. I continually go back to real knows real. Someone said that to me one time. Real knows real. If you're black, you know who's racist.
Yeah.
You know who's ignorant. You know who's stupid. You know who says something stupid. I fundamentally believe that. If you're gay, it's the same thing. You know who cares and who doesn't really care that you're gay. Like that's
because it would be insulting to think otherwise, that they don't know.
But I think most people
I think
that
a
sit
lot
in
of
my
people- I
chair
think a lot of
don't
people-
know. Like
that's
they think
my
they don't
biggest
know.
problem with the people that are tiptoeing around things. It's just like, you clearly think that like whatever group of people that you're talking about is not smart enough, perceptive enough, nuanced enough to understand what's in front of them.
You and I, we're the liberal white males. But like, you're 100% right. I agree with that. That it's a total disrespect to people to think. So I mentor a lot of women entrepreneurs. And I've said this on the show, and I'll keep saying this. That I'd love one iota of respect from academia for building a program that has more women entrepreneurship students than any other fucking program in the world. I think it's horseshit that they don't give me awards every single year on this. Like, it's fucking total horseshit. But man, like, it's not that hard. All you got to do is treat them like people. Yeah. Like, literally.
Right.
And like, I'll sit there and I'll talk to a black student at UConn. They'll be like, this shit's fucked up. And like, I don't see myself in, and I'm like, all right, yeah. Like, and you're like telling me, I'm like, I get it. Like, what can I do? Like, I can't, we have twice the representation around Worth than they have at the university. Like, what do you want? Like, you want it easy? It ain't easy. Like, we have those conversations, and I think they're meaningful conversations for students to have someone who's in a position of authority, not say the world's fair or there's equity or there's this. Like, the world's fucked up, and you got to figure it out for you.
You got to you can never just leave it at, oh, this is fucked up in that tone. It's either got to be, oh, this is fucked up. All right, here's what we're going to do. Or, oh, this is fucked up. Like, you have to be angry about it. You can't.
I'm not angry.
If you leave it at,
I'm not angry. It's
fucked
just
up,
the reality.
I don't know. I'm the type of person that if it's fucked up, and particularly if it's pertaining to me, that's going to get me angry enough to figure out how to change it.
I break systems all day long. It's hard work. You get tired. I think probably, why do you want to be famous? Because it'll be easier to break systems, too.
Let me ask you this. Was there...
Because, like, all those fucked up things, it's hard to fix those. And, like, I can't. Like,
you can't fix them all.
Right.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, when... Have you known that for a long time? Like, you're not saving the world or anything like that?
This is all about me.
When did you...
This is all about me.
Was there...
This is not about the world.
I think that's a lot more respectable than the people that are trying to save the world.
Do
you remember, like,
the way
when
the
you
world
were
gets
like...
saved? The way the world gets saved, it's a mathematical equation, right? The way the world gets saved is we all do a little bit better. That's it. That's the only answer. So I can do my part.
So you got to be famous to influence enough of these people to make things.
I like breaking systems too. You know, it's just what it is, man. I enjoy difficult, awkward situations. Like, they don't bother me. All right, so you back that off. Why be famous? Okay, well, it'll pay. Why build the podcast now? Because, like, if we don't move, it's bad. You know, like, and I don't know what the future is, but if we don't make that changeover, if we don't start, then you're fucked totally. So it's a long episode for you to. Luckily, the first 20 minutes is boring as fuck, so you can just chop it.